What do you find to continue to drive you in this quest for a ring that you got enough rings for one hand?
Well, I think a lot has to do with the expectations of people, and very little. You set your own expectations and you live up to those, but your expectations are going to be geared toward people feel you can accomplish. I mean, sure, everybody's saying this is Utah's year. You know, they best record at home court advantage.
Does that drive you?
Yeah,
everybody continues to say it's going to be Utah this year. For the first time, the Bulls don't have this, they don't have that.
Yeah, that's motivation. If it's not, then I mean, you certainly need to look in the mirror. But that's a sense of motivation. You got to have some inner motivation too. You want to be successful. It's a long season that you started off trying to end the season with a win. That should never deteriorate. But other things come in with the same type of intensity in terms of motivation. What
if you lose in this series? Does it tarnish you? Does it tarnish this team?
No. Things that we've accomplished cannot be refuted at all. And a loss doesn't erase it all. I think we end the season with the win. Then we make sure that our objectives are met in the course of the year. And if it so happens and it's not meant to be that way, we don't look at the season and say, well, it was a waste of season. A lot of good things happened this season, and it was a fun season no matter how you look at it.
There are a lot of people out there who think if Michael Jordan loses, he's not going to know what to do because he's never lost an NBA Finals before.
That's true. I have never lost. But I mean, I can accept losing with a learning experience, that things were not meant to be for Michael Jordan this time. I don't look at it in the sense that it would drive me nuts. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I can accept losing. I just cannot accept trying to go out and exceed.
You can always look at that hand too, right? And see the precedent for the rings.
Certainly, you have enough to be satisfied. It's not in this scenario, I am in some ways being greedy because I want to continue to win. But that's not also bad. That everybody wants to win. The object of competing is to win. But being that you have won in the past, can make losing acceptable in some respect.
You've been criticized in the past, probably most vocally by Jim Brown, for what he feels is you not speaking out for African Americans. How do you handle criticism like that?
Well, I mean, this is coming from Jim Brown, and look, I know Jim has done a lot, for LA and a lot of things within the community, and Jim has to look at his career too, in a sense. I mean, it was years where he had his life in front of him, and certainly his enjoyment, and he did things certainly was not respectable in some people's eyes. And then he matured at a certain level, and then he got more into that stage is coming from Michael Jordan. I've done things that I feel comfortable with and I feel good about, and I'm gonna do more as I get away, as basketball has not consumed more of my time. Now basketball at some point in time is diminishing, and I'm gonna have more time to do other things. But I think that's unfair criticism from him, because he doesn't know what I've done. He doesn't know what I'm planning to do, and I would never criticize someone without knowing, the whole picture of what he's actually trying to accomplish.
Isn't a lot of what you do now things that you do without the cameras, things that you don't want anybody?
I'd rather do it without the camera because I'm not looking to gain publicity of doing something good for people. It's what you feel is the most important thing. And I've done things that people can't see, and I'd rather do it that way. And certain times you want to do it to bring more awareness to a certain scenario. That's all good and fine. But there's other things that you want to do just so that you seem like, in your mind, you're doing what's good, and you don't need the cameras to dictate that.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility to African Americans?
Sure, I have a responsibility to Afro Americans, but I have a responsibility to a lot of other people too, in my family, and it's not just designated for the Afro Americans, because those are not just the people who admire me, but I have my first and foremost priority is to my Afro Americans, without a doubt.
This summer, you're going to Asia. You're going to see the manufacturing shops where your shoes, where the Nikes are made, and I know that it was your idea to go. What do you hope to accomplish?
I just want to see for myself what a lot of complaints are being made, and I think one good thing that happened was, Phil shed some more light on it by stepping up and saying, okay, we're going to improve these scenarios in these countries, and that's all good and fine, but that shouldn't deteriorate my appetite to see what's being talked about. And being that that's an area that I'm going to pursue once I'm out of the game of basketball, I want to know what the conditions are and know the situations that I'm dealing with without not knowing and still pursuing with my career.
How critical an evaluation are you going to give?
I'm going to give it very serious, very serious, and not to a point where I'm going to make political stands. I'm going to go in and evaluate from my perspective. And I think Phil said enough in terms of, he feels that it's an area that we have to improve on. And I think the whole company is going to gear towards that. And I think that some people are going to maintain their eyes to see if the progress is met. I think it will be met. And, I'm going over just from my own perspective.
Could you ever see yourself severing ties with anyone because the way that they do things is not up to your standards or not the way that you want it to be?
Sure. If I feel, I'm going to go off on my gut feeling. If I feel like, some things are being taken advantage of, then sure. If I have any opportunities to get out of the deal, get out of the situation, then I will. And I think that hopefully they would understand that.
You've surrounded yourself with a very small group of people. Your bodyguards who are more friends then bodyguards, people that you've known for years. How do you make friends and know for sure that no one's trying to get an angle on Michael Jordan, no one wants something from you?
Friends are built over time. It's not built over short periods of time, and my friendship has been built over time, long periods of time where gradually my trust in you has increased, and those 7 guys that are hanging with me have been with me ever since I came in Chicago. They didn't really start traveling with me until after a 7 or 8 year period. And then that's how trust is built. My true friends are the ones that I grew up with. David Bridges, Buzz Peterson, those type of guys who have known me way before I could, shoot a basketball. But then along the way, I've grown with other friendships, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Omar Rashad, all these type of guys who over a period of time we've become closer, and that's how I value friendship, is a period of time of being and knowing that person.
When you first meet somebody who's friendly towards you and you get a sense that they want to be friends, do you initially wonder what kind of angle does this person have?
That's the first attitude is what angles are they trying to use for their best interest? That's just human nature.
You've been interviewed, or at least you're asked to be interviewed, probably more than any athlete around. Have you ever said anything, either in media, either in print or television, that you regretted saying later on?
I would say so, yes. Because if I hadn't been able to interpret it the way that or someone misinterpreted what I said, but that's what when I speak in front of the media, I have to take into account that people may misunderstand. So I try to clearly make the interpretation that I intend it to be. And every now and then I may slip, or I may not clarify myself. That happens.
What do you do when it happens? Do you seek out that reporter to try and clarify it, or do you just go in and live with it?
I go in and live with it. Because that was a mistake that I made. And next time I try to make sure that didn't happen.
Everybody always talks about the next Michael Jordan. Grant Hill got the label. Jerry Stackhouse got the label. Harold Miner got the label. Kobe's got it now. Tim Duncan's even getting it. Is it fair to put the label on these guys as the next Michael Jordan?
It's not fair, but it's a standard of measurement. When I came in, Dr. J, Elgin Baylor, it's just a standard of measurement for people to compare to, but it's never going to be another Michael Jordan. It's never going to be another Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Now it's going to be a Kobe Bryant. It's going to be Grant Hill. It's going to be Anthony Hardaway. These are guys going to have similar traits. It's how they manifest those traits to be, their best basketball player, the best role model that they can be. No matter what the league does in terms of trying to promote, you can't fool the consumer, you can't fool the fans. So the game is going to say, well, he's the next whoever. Your game's going to have to evolve to hold up to that label that the league is trying to promote you with. It's a danger to that. It's a danger to that because the credibility of the game could take a hit. If you start looking for all the dunks and all the exciting plays, you forget about certain fundamentals of moving the ball, getting everybody within a certain working atmosphere, offense or defense.
This game's going to survive without you. People keep saying, oh, the game's going to go down without Michael. There's not going to be an NBA as we know it.
It's going to survive. There's too much money invested. There's too many dreams of young kids trying to be professional basketball players, so the interest is always going to be there. Certainly, you're going to have to curtail certain things within the game to maintain, the beauty of the game or the credibility of the game. But the game is always going to be the game, because it's been here a lot longer than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain. The game has been here too long for it to be erased because one individual is leaving the game.
A lot of great players, some of the greatest ever: Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, who either will not get a ring or have not gotten a ring because of you. And arguably, you can say that Clyde and Olajuwon just got theirs because you weren't there. Do you all ever talk about that? The fact that maybe these guys might have wished they came along 5 years earlier or 5 years later?
You can talk about it. I joke around with my friends about it, Charles and Patrick and all these guys, and but I take great pride in making sure that they don't win, because that means you have a better chance to win, and that's the attitude that I take. I want them to win. I still want them to win when I'm still playing, and that's just a competitor within me, and I think they would want that challenge. I would think that, I like for them to think that, if they win a championship, it doesn't seem quite the same, because they didn't, win it against Michael Jordan. I would mean the same thing. If we didn't have an opportunity to beat Magic Johnson in '91, I'm pretty sure I would have had some thoughts about it. I would have gotten over it, but just being able to beat Magic Johnson, who was the king at that time of winning championships, 5 at the time, gave my championship or gave our championship some credibility, just in eyes, and as time goes along, people don't think about it, but initially that's the first thought.
Wayne Gretzky has been called the Babe Ruth of hockey. You used to be called the Babe Ruth of basketball, but now more people are saying that so-and-so is the Michael Jordan of whatever sport that is. How does it feel to be on the same plane, on a huge scope, as Babe Ruth was in baseball?
Well, it's gratifying, without a doubt. But you're talking about different era. You're talking about different responsibilities, different challenges, and at this stage in this modern day era, it's a privilege, but it's hard to accept because there's a lot of different components when you start comparing eras to eras. When people say you're the greatest basketball player that ever played, it's hard for me to accept that because I never faced Will Chamberlain. I never faced Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, or Dr. J when he was really in his prime with the Nets or whatever. So it's hard to accept that. It's great people are going to say it, and you can say that, but deep down in your heart, you can't really expect yourself to be the greatest of all eras. And I don't consider myself that. But it's a great compliment to have.
You accepted your 5th MVP. You came out the very next game. You won for 40 points. And then afterwards you said, I had to prove to you all that I deserve the vote. What do you still have to prove to anybody, whether it's us, the media, whether it's the fans? I mean, you've got to understand that you really don't have anything to prove anymore.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean, if I feel that way, then why am I competing? It's always going to be in the back of your head as an appetite to prove something because that responsibility has been given to you as an individual, and you're always going to have to live up to it. Certain responsibility, not everything, but the admiration of people for your sport is enough to say that I have to live up to what their admiration is all about, and there's bad comments out there too from every opposing gym that I go into, but for the most part, when people look at the game and the way I play, they have certain visions about how I should play it. Those are my responsibilities that I have to live up to, and I would always have those feelings as long as I'm playing the game of basketball. That drives me more so than anything.
A recent article came out said that you, to the American economy, you're worth $1 billion, or have been worth $1 billion. Do you fully understand? 10 billion. Oh, okay, my bad. $10 billion is your worth to our society. Do you fully, completely grasp what you mean to this society, not just as far as sports are concerned, but as far as role models, as far as kids of every color, shape, size, thinking that they're you?
I'm aware of them, but I can't really grasp it yet, because when I first started this long road of basketball knowledge and education, I always considered it to be just a game. I never was intrigued by the business. That never drove me into the game. What drove me into the game was the idea to play the game as a livelihood, as a profession, and don't have to work, don't have to do this, blah, 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 I enjoy the game. But once I got into that, you start seeing the business around, that never consumed me. It was a part of it, but it never consumed me. What consumed me was being the best basketball player I could be. And 13 years later, you see all the business that has been generated around the way you play the game. It baffles me. I'm shocked by it because it never drove me. I never consumed myself with it. And somewhere down the road, when my kids have kids, I'm a grandfather, whatever, I'm gonna think back and say, man, I helped the economy in the 13 years that I played. But now, it doesn't even affect me as much as it probably would affect someone else.
You have a lot of good things in life. You've got a great wife, great kids, more money than you could ever want. But you can't just decide one day, I'm gonna go to the mall and pick this up. You can't just, I'm gonna move in tonight. I'm taking Juanita and Marcus and Jeffrey and Jasmine. Yeah, but
we sneak around, but we go to the movies.
You have to sneak around.
Sure.
How much do you miss being a regular guy?
Well, when you say you miss something, you have to give up something, and I have enjoyed my career, and now as I get, in the tail end of my career, sure, I want to do other things, with my wife and with my kids, because I want to experience it. I don't know what I've missed, but as I experience it, I will know what I've missed. But I've gained something in not being able to do those things, a certain focus, a certain, dedication to my game. But everything's going to be new to me to experience some of those things. And that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be fun, too, to see my kids smile for me walking into a mall or walking into an amusement park, or my wife in a great mood because we can finish dinner and go catch a movie.
Regularly.
Yeah, regularly. I think that's going to be new to me, and that's going to be fun to me, when that time happens. But to say what I've missed, you have to give up something, and I'm looking forward to that challenge. I'm looking forward to that entertainment of seeing the smiles on my family's face, that we can do some normal things that normal families would do.
Is that what people don't get? The people who say Michael's not going to have anything, he's going to give up basketball, and he's not going to have anything else to go to, he's not going to know what to do. Is that what they don't understand?
They don't think,
family?
I think what they don't think or understand that I can separate my competitive drive in sports, in a sense, with my family, because it is a competitive drive for me to sit there and listen to my kid and help him with this homework. It's not really competitive, it's something that I want. And I get that enjoyment out of that. And that consumes a lot of the competitive juices that I used over for the game of basketball. And I welcome that. I can't wait I've been doing it, but I want to do it more. And that's not an easy transformation for me, and people are going to see that when the time comes.
Done, man.
Whoa. Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Well, you heard it right there. Michael Jordan. You never get an interview from any other player, especially in this era, like LeBron James or any of these clowns, who's going to drop you knowledge just like that. And it might be some guys in the 2020s, but we'll never know, because the NBA has turned into a complete clown act, a clown show. And, they know not to, hold themselves to a standard like Michael Jordan was in that interview. They already know that, because the way LeBron James acts is totally, you can't do it. It'll make LeBron James look bad. So pretty much the guys in the 2020s, 210s, I wouldn't say all of them act like LeBron James, but if you look at most of the guys from, the Tim Duncans, the Dirk Nowinskis, the Jason Kidds, the Kobe Bryants, the Kevin Garnett's, all those guys in the early 2000s and halfway through the 2010s, they talk totally different. They talk more on a professionalism level. They were all about business on the court, off the court, when they were in front of the mic. And I'm not trying to say, even Michael Jordan isn't a funny guy, don't play around, say crazy stuff. But when you come on TV, when you're in front of millions of people, the way LeBron James acts, he acts like a clown. He doesn't act professional. He don't act like a grown-up. So we're going to get into this interview right here, and we're going to go through a couple of things that was talked about in the interview. And hey, Michael Jordan foreseen the future of what was going to happen and how these guys weren't able to carry on the legacy of these past era guys. They just weren't. And basically, once the NBA found out that these guys weren't going to be able to carry on the past legacies as far as being professionals, playing at a high level on both sides of the ball, having, the standards of the rules upheld, travel, carry, and stuff like that, because they weren't, if they were going to continue to do these things, the future NBA, especially from the 215 on, you would see no greatness, folks. And I know this is hard. This is going to be hard for you to grasp and wrap your mind around it. But when I say this, when we talk about your Kevin Durant, your LeBron James, your KDs, your Jason Tatums, your Jaylen Browns, who else is this? Luka Doncic, Jokers, Anthony Edwards, Devin Bookers, all these type of guys. If they had to play defense and offense, try to be two-way players, and the rules being upheld, you're looking at a totally different game, folks. They might not even be top 100 players. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. Now, there are some guys that you can talk about, the Kawhi Leonards, you can talk about maybe AD, something like that. But for the most part, the NBA will be weird if they won't even. I'm just trying to tell you, there's no way in the world you could hold these guys to any kind of standard of comparing these guys to the past. It just wouldn't happen, right? We're literally seeing, we did a whole video on this, we're seeing these guys unable to go by the rules that kids go by in a basketball game. No carrying, no traveling. They can't do it. You can include James Harden in that mix. You can include, Russell Westbrook in that mix as far as playing defense and trying to be two-way players. Again, when we talk about guys who never made defensive teams, like Charles Barkley, or, even Larry Bird made some defensive teams, but I wouldn't call him an elite defender. But we see the guys that will beat these guys out for defensive teams, even Magic Johnson, you will look and you say, well, who beat him out? And then you look and you say, oh, okay. It makes sense. It makes totally sense. These are all-time great defensive players that beat them out. That's why they weren't on the defensive team. But since 2015 especially, you can even go even a little bit further down in the 210s maybe. Since 210 all the way until now, your superstars are getting beat out by guys, getting beat out by guys on the all-defensive team who are all-time great defenders. Now, yes, there is a sprinkle of them in there that's all-time great defenders. And I won't use era, because I could say, oh, okay, Draymond Green's not an all-time great defender. But I'm not going to use the era thing against him. He continues to make, defensive teams and stuff like that. So he's one of the greatest all-time defenders in his era. But if you go look at some of the other guys, no, folks, they're not all-time great defenders. That's beating out these superstars from making at least all-NBA second team, right? And to me, maybe they just look at it, maybe, okay, if I make second team, it makes me look bad. I'm not on the first team, so let's not even try to make an all-NBA at all. So this is what we're going to get into this video. But, again, your Lukas, your Jokers, and we know that Joker and Luka, they're not athletic, but they can at least make one. How about one? How about y'all talk about Bob Marley? At least he made, was it Bob Marley? Dan Marley, at least he got on a couple, right? Look at Larry Bird. He got on a few, right? All defensive teams. You had unathletic white guys back in the day getting on defensive teams. What's the problem in the 2020s where they don't even play defense? So in the 2020s, all you do is have to act like you're playing defense to get on the all defensive team. That's how bad it is. You're acting, they cut out defense. You can't play defense in this era. So all you have to do is act like you're playing defense and you're on the all NBA defensive team. So you're trying to tell me with Luka and Joker, they can't make one all NBA defensive team, at least one, be on the second team? So this is what LeBron James, and you know, you can go to the conspiracy side and be like, well, it all just, you know, ties in. You know what I'm saying? LeBron make no more defensive teams. Hey, the other guys don't have to make no defensive teams. Or these other superstars don't make defensive teams because LeBron James ain't making no defensive teams, right? You know, all these great players of the, you know, 2020s and the, you know, from 215 until now, don't go in the dunk contest. Allow them to travel and carry. Build super teams. Why? Because LeBron James did all these things, folks. So they're obligated by the NBA to do the same things that LeBron James does or did to make it look like LeBron James ain't the only one who done it or does it. So Michael Jordan talks about the criticism from Jim Brown. And, you know, a lot of people don't talk about this before about Michael Jordan, you know, basically not doing for charity out loud and doing, you know, for the African American community. Now, listen, I think this is 2025. So we all know charities are the biggest frauds in the world. They really don't help nobody. Okay. As far as, you know, it might be a feel good story, but they donate this money to these charities. These charities put all this money in their pocket and it really don't help nobody. All right. We're in 2025. It's okay not to be dumb. Charities don't give back to nobody. It's a feel good story. So yeah, Michael Jordan could give the charities out loud, but he doesn't. He didn't back then. And he talks about how he does stuff. Well, he didn't say it at first. Well, you know, Stuart Scott said it, that he does a lot of stuff behind closed doors that he doesn't want to announce. You know, something like LeBron James would do and things like that. So he didn't want them things announced because he would go do stuff on a personal level. You know what I'm saying? He'll go help out families, he'll go help out kids and things like that on a personal level, so where he don't want it announced. Because you start announcing everything like that, you know, it's good, but now everybody's going to come after you. How come you don't help this person? Go help this person. How come you don't? And all this stuff. So he wanted to keep it on a personal level of a lot of stuff that he did. Remember, this guy is young, man. This guy was in his 30s. I think 35 when this interview was put on. I mean, now if you're in your 40s and your 30s, that's young. People don't realize how young that is, and you having that weight on your shoulder in your 30s to do all these type of things. And a lot of things, like I said, a lot of people don't even know because he didn't put it out there. He don't want the recognition and stuff like that. But he did a lot of charity work, and he probably just did a lot of work that he don't want people to know about because he don't want to, you know, feel obligated to say, oh, you help this person out, how come you don't help this person? You can't help everybody out. And when they talk about, you know, him being obligated to African Americans, Stuart Scott said, you could hear it in this 3 times. He didn't say African American. Michael Jordan, he said Afro American. He ain't with that. He ain't with that term because he knows that term is bullish. If it was African American, he would have repeated it 3 times. He repeated Afro American. Remember, that's not a term by the government that the government made up. Jesse Jackson made that term up. He coined that phrase in that label to put it on Afro Americans, Black Americans, in Negroes. That's the name of the people here. They were called Negroes, Afro American, and stuff like that. To push the slave trade on Afro Americans, yeah, Jesse Jackson came up with African American, but Michael Jordan won't say he didn't like that term because he knows, you know, his people aren't African. They didn't come from Africa, so he wasn't gonna push that. They came from the Americas. They don't call white people European Americans. They don't do it. So you can see he didn't like it. I don't like that term either. Most Black Americans, they don't use that dumb term. It's a dumb term, and it's not a place. It's not a people's. You can't go to. Yeah, if you come from Africa, yeah, you could say, yeah, I'm African American. They don't come. The people from Brazil don't come over here and say they're African Brazilians, or they don't say I'm African Cubans. No, they just get called Cubans. If you was born in the United States, you're an American. That's all I'm trying to say. You're an American. To me, if you was born in Americas, you're American anyways. I hate when people say, man, we try to get to America. Well, if you was born in the Western Hemisphere, you're American. That's the Americas. If you were born in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba, Jamaica, Mexico, Canada, the United States, all these places in the Western Hemisphere, you're American. You're just citizens of those places, right? I'm a citizen of the United States. That person might be a citizen of Haiti. That person might be a citizen of, Canadian citizen. They might be a citizen of Venezuela, right? And then you got to break it down to resident now. You're a resident of Georgia. You're a resident of Louisiana. You're a resident of whatever, state or province and stuff like that. But if you were born in the Americas, you're already American, right? They just try to get people to be dumb, okay? That's all that is. But I love it when Michael Jordan refuses to say African American. He won't say it. Oh yeah, he was talking about where would the game go without him when he retires and all this stuff, and he basically was saying, the game will continue on and it will continue to be good. But basically, you can't fool the consumers, and you know what I'm saying? You can't, and that's why a lot of these fans have walked away, because you can't fool them. We saw what we saw back in the days, in the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, 60s. It don't matter who you bring and say, this is the next. Eventually, they're just going to be themselves. But if they're not true to the game, the consumer is going to walk off. The consumer ain't going to want to watch this. And we saw what happened in 2012, or when LeBron James went to Miami. Purely entertainment. Yep. You saw him go to the Boys and Girls Club. You saw what he did there. And then you saw what he did with the not one, not two, not three. So basically the NBA was kind of like moving away from Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, these type of guys like this, to bring you, 95% entertainment based NBA. In a type of soap opera, right? Because you can see it with these debate groups. No matter what side you was on, whatever like that, this was going to be what pushed the game into the future. Yep. Instead of the game selling itself on the court, and that would be the entertainment, right? They couldn't do it. These new crop of guys couldn't do it. They couldn't sell you the on-court greatness, and that be the 95%. Or the, I would say, to me, the game was more, I would say 90% on-court greatness, and the other 10%, they brought you a soap opera on TV. Basically Sports Center, you read the newspaper or something like that, but the on-court greatness would turn into a soap opera. Now they just, since LeBron James went to Miami, they just want the whole thing to just be a soap opera, and they kind of bring you the soap opera on these debate shows on ESPN and all this nonsense. It's kind of like today. What's first, you got to lay the foundation, right? And that's what they did with the Miami thing. Look at today, right? Foundation been laid for a long time. You see all this stuff on social media about the NBA. You see debate groups. You see all this, different stuff. People's got channels. And we're talking about the NBA this, the NBA that. But when you look on the court, ain't nothing going on, folks. The NBA has a bigger soap opera off court, in supposedly more off-court greatness than on-court greatness. There is nothing going on in the NBA when you watch these games. You would think with the type of pub the NBA gets these days with social media, these kind of talk shows or whatever like that on ESPN, Fox, you would think that this game will be at its highest point of all time. But actually, it's at its lowest point of all time, because nobody wants to watch this crap. There's nothing going on. What Bronny is top 5 talked about in the league. This is where you are, folks. And it doesn't matter who likes it or not. You have your top 5 guys, top 6, whatever, who are international players who can't even promote this game. Season is over. They go back to Canada. What is it? Serbia. Where they come from? Greece. These people like that, it's cool with me. It doesn't matter to me. They can go wherever they want to go. But there's no promotion of the game by these top 5 players. Nope. No promotion of this game by these top 5 players. In fact, Joker is supposed to be the greatest player in this era with 3 MVPs. Should have 4. And there's basically 0 promotion from this guy. Luka's pretty much not promoting it. Yes, we get a lot of Luka news just because he's with the Lakers, but he's not really promoting the NBA or, you know, being the face of the NBA, promoting, you know, American culture, you know, American basketball. So to the United States and Americans, the NBA is really dead to us. If all the top 5 players are international, how do you relate to that as an American? And then because these people aren't American people and they don't promote the game like that, it's kind of like baseball. Baseball is kind of like dead to most Americans. Okay, most Americans only pay attention to the game to gamble. You got people who gamble on baseball, don't even know the history of baseball. I had a guy I used to work with. He gambles on baseball all the time. He'd turn it on, watch it to see if he, you know, got his picks or whatever like that. But I talked to him about the history of baseball. He don't know nothing about it. Americans don't watch baseball. It's a whole bunch of international players who can't even speak English in the game. Yeah, they just got these people who, you know, we already talked about it. They started a Caribbean League, and instead of paying farm guys in the farm team, Americans, $1 or $2 million to be in the AA, AAA farm teams. They just pay these Latinos $50,000, $25,000, $100,000 to be in those Caribbean farm teams, and then bring them up. The problem is they can't promote the game. They're not promoting the game to American people, so the game pretty much died off. Yep. I mean, you can sprinkle in, you know, American here, American there, American there, but still don't matter. You got a game that's 95% international players. And we all know they didn't go get these players because they were better than American players. They got them because they were cheaper. So that's why we got to tell you guys, there's something about the NBA while they're bringing in all these international players, not just, you know, European players, but Africans, all these people. And it's always been some international players in the 90s or 2000s, but they just start flooding them in. So you guys start thinking to yourself, why have they been flooding these people in? Because at first they told us, oh, these international players are just so more fundamental than Americans. Now, we looking back at them, especially in the 2020s, they're not. They travel, they carry, they don't play defense. They're a shell of what we had back in the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. They're a shell of those guys. Not even close. So you got to think about what's really going on behind closed doors as far as business. You know, these guys really getting paid this kind of money, or is the NBA just saying this to keep value on their league? And you got to remember, these guys have to go. Remember, they play in another country in the offseason. This ain't like the WNBA where they have to play, you know, internationally because they're only getting paid, you know, $100,000, $50,000, something like that. In the WNBA, these are guys supposed to be making tens of millions a year, but they still have to go. So you basically don't even get the rest, really. After you just make, you know, 10, 20, 30, 50, 60 million dollars in a year, you have to go over to the Euro League and play. What kind of sense does that make? You couldn't get me to do that. And how would it be allowed by the owners? So that's just something to think about, man. And you got the lowest ratings of all time in the NBA. How are they able to pay these guys this kind of money? Even bench players are paying them the crazy amounts of money. It doesn't make any sense. So, you know, it's like I tell people, you got to start thinking. Just because somebody tells you something, that don't mean it's real. You got to remember, it's entertainment too, so they can make up their own rules of what they're telling the people. I'm just saying what makes sense. Most of these guys, when they retire, they got to go get a job like you and me. These guys are podcasting during the season, folks, just to make money. Michael Jordan talks about he don't want to be called the greatest of all time. Nope. And this is how you can see these guys have disrespected the game, because it's all about money now. The media and all this stuff kind of disrespected the game. Because Michael Jordan even told you he don't want to be the greatest of all. He don't want to be called the greatest of all time. He don't think he's the greatest of all time because he didn't play against Will, Jerry West, Cousy, you know, Bill Russell, a lot of guys in the past. He didn't. Not just them. He didn't play in those eras. He didn't play in the 70s. He didn't play in the early 80s. You know, before he came in, he didn't play in the 60s. You know, all those eras back then. So he can't accept being the greatest of all time, because what a lot of people are missing, just because a player is doing something in his era, that don't mean he's the greatest of all time. In his era, that's the nutrition, the medicine, the shoes, the basketball rims, the court, the environment, all that stuff that he's doing in his era. He's not, he can't take that same environment, those same circumstances, into the 70s. Michael Jordan can't. He can't take it into the 60s. He can't take it into the 50s. He can't do that. Okay? It's like if Michael Jordan would have started his career in the 210s, it's not the same Michael Jordan. It's not the same Michael. We don't know if it's the same Michael Jordan. He won't have to compete on that level as hard to get where he eventually got. You don't have the same defensive rules. You don't. So Michael Jordan went out. How you know he would have gave the same effort? You know what I'm saying? We was talking about earlier. Kevin Durant, you kept Devin Booker's, your James Hardens, your Russell Westbrooks, your even LeBron James starting in 2015. Who we leave out? Luka, Joker, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Anthony Edwards. Never made a defensive team. So what do you think Michael Jordan's mindset will be if he plays from 2015 all the way until now? He might not ever be on a defensive team, ever. Never, ever, ever. Never. So he might just be thinking about stats. Maybe he might not be the rebounder he was, offensive rebounder. Maybe he would not have did a lot of stuff. Maybe he would not have had 6 championships. He didn't have a Scottie Pippen, so he might have been trying to build a super team to win. You don't know that. This is a whole different era. You guys, different mentalities of guys. You got to remember the type of things that these people seen in the past, the type of music they grew up listening to, the type of parenting they had, the type of environment they grew up in, the type of challenges they had, what you was told you had to do to be the best. Remember, the media pushes how good these guys are since the LeBron James era, probably since the Miami days. The media pushes how good and great these guys are based on this and that, whatever they want to make up. It wasn't like that back then. How great you was based on your on-court play. What was that? Championships and statistical titles and MVPs. That's what it was. A leader in your competition. Yep. Championships, statistical titles, you as a leader, MVPs, did I say MVPs? Competition. Yep. So you go ahead and put that in the LeBron James era. So we already know LeBron James was never a leader on any championship, right? Never. He always played with, 2 other guys who were number 1 franchise players of other teams who were leaders. Yep. Always. Check this out. So Dwight Howard beat LeBron James in 2009? The leader of that team. And guess what? LeBron James later on ended up winning the championship with Dwight Howard. I don't care, how good he was at that time. Remember, he went and got Dwight Howard twice. This is how crazy it was. He got Dwight Howard twice. That's like Michael Jordan later on in maybe 98. I don't know, playing with Isaiah Thomas. Somebody that beat him, and I'm just saying. Or going to get Joe Dumars. I don't think Joe Dumars wasn't the leader of that team. Isaiah Thomas was. Joe Dumars was close. It was like 1 and 2, but definitely Isaiah Thomas. I'm just saying. Competition? No. Competition ain't there for LeBron James. We already talked about a leader. He ain't no leader in the first place. So all the other stuff is out the door. His competition, his, all the other stuff we talked about. The winning championships. you was just you was amongst the leaders that won a championship, right? So Dwayne Wade, Love, Kyrie, Chris Bosh, who was it? Anthony Davis. These guys were they were leaders of other teams. So he was just with other leaders that won championships. Yep. That's how it was. To make things so crazy, if you don't believe in that, those weren't even his teams. They weren't even his team, because that was Wade's team. That was Kyrie's team when Kyrie got there. So he came to somebody else's team and tried to be the king. That's crazy. And this is what we're talking about, and why Michael Jordan talks about the fans walking the hell away, because this is not how it was supposed to be back in the day. You had Kobe Bryant. It was supposed to be Vince Carter. It was supposed to be Tracy McGrady. It was supposed to be Grant Hill. I think Allen Iverson was supposed to be, a little bit more than what he was for longer than what he was. But those guys that I mentioned, I think it's some more people too. Oh, Penny Hardaway. These were the guys that were supposed to be competing. These guys were supposed to be competing. And really, who was it? Maybe Kobe Bryant? Because these other guys, they weren't competing like that. They were either getting hurt or something like that. So the NBA took a big hit, man. When you talk about, who was supposed to take the game into the next era, because LeBron James' era was supposed to be the 210s, right? So if he start winning the 210s, that would be fine. That's his era right there. He came in 2003. But the guys who were supposed to be running that thing was supposed to be Penny Hardaway. Tim Duncan stayed in there. Penny Hardaway, Tim Duncan, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Allen Iverson, Grant Hill. These were supposed to be the guys running the NBA. Man, I would say until Kobe Bryant until about 2000, into the 2000s. All the way, I would say about 2007, 8, 9, whatever like that. We saw what Kevin Garnett was able to do with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. They super teamed on the back end of their careers. But you had a lot of guys that got hurt or didn't live up to potential, and the NBA really took a hit. Mm-hmm. If those guys I mentioned would have just didn't get hurt or lived up to the potential, the NBA would have just been insane. And then you had Jason Kidd, he lived up to his potential. You had Steve Nash lived up to his potential, but you had a lot of guys again that got hurt or didn't live up to potential, and that's where LeBron James just came in and kind of took over by default, because we can say that LeBron James really never had the skills like a Grant Hill, Anthony Hardaway, Tracy McGrady. We could even say who is it? Vince Carter. Vince Carter, I think, was more skilled than LeBron James. And I know I just did a video on him, trashing him, saying he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, and he shouldn't. He only made All-NBA 2 times in his career, and that was the second and third year. That's it. And he played like poop in the playoffs. But when you go look at his regular season numbers, it's just off the chart. It's off the chart. You don't even believe it. You're like, whoa. He looks like a top 75 player in the regular season. It's nuts. I don't know what the hell happened to this guy in prime time in the playoffs. The guy just didn't show up. Didn't make no sense. I don't know. And then you had Allen Iverson going through his thing. He was going through, practice and all this stuff. A lot of guys didn't come to fruition. The game was gonna, go into a different stratosphere. You had those type of skilled players, those type of guys coming into the league that didn't live up to potential or got hurt. And because of that, I think that they just focused on LeBron James. Which, at the end of the day, yes, he didn't get hurt, and he lived up to potential, yes. But he couldn't be a winner. He couldn't be a leader and put the ball in his own hands and take you to the promised land. He couldn't do that. See, Tracy McGrady was supposed to do that. He kept getting hurt. Anthony Hardaway was supposed to do that. He ended up getting hurt. Grant Hill was supposed to do that. A lot of these guys, Tracy McGrady was supposed to, Vince Carter was supposed to do that. Vince Carter had inside, outside skills. A lot of guys, it didn't happen. So they focused on LeBron James to do these things. Along with Kobe. Kobe got the job done. LeBron James couldn't do this because he didn't work on his game. He just want to be a crash to the basket type of guy. Close out the lane. You ain't got no. I like those photos where they're all just like focusing in on him. Okay, you just block his way. He ain't gonna do nothing. He can't shoot. Can't shoot. But yeah, that was a great interview by Michael Jordan. That was that was Michael Jordan interview before the '98 finals started. And remember, they weren't even supposed to win. But y'all got to remember, as a Bulls fan, we didn't think the Bulls were going to win any finals series. We didn't think that. Maybe if you're a Bulls fan, let me know if you really thought that. I thought the competition was so good, I didn't think we were going to win. Because the first finals, we never won nothing, and then we're going against the Lakers. So we wanted to win. We didn't think we didn't know we were going to win. Okay, we wanted to win. Never the second one. That's a back-to-back. Who wins back-to-back except for the Lakers? Look how stacked those teams were. They're just a back-to-back. This is Pippen's second time as All-Star. We didn't know that. So we know. Oh yeah, we're gonna beat Portland. Nope, we didn't know that. Not even after game 1, 2, or 3. You didn't think that. This is something they would think today. You didn't have all that media back then. It's a back-to-back championship. Who wins back-to-back championship besides the Lakers? Bulls never did it. Who the hell said we was going to, okay, a three-peat? You already know that's not going to happen. And we're going against the Suns. That team was stacked back then. Y'all don't understand, man. You don't understand. And the same thing with the other three-peat. I'm trying to tell you, I never thought while I was watching, and I watched every Bulls game since the late 80s all the way until 98. I never thought we was going to win one championship. But the fact is, Michael Jordan said, I'm going to win all these championships because the only way I can be looked at in the same pantheon of these all-time greats is what? I got to win all my championships. Right? Because then they could say, well, yes, you won 4 and you lost 2, but, Larry Bird's competition was better, or, Bill Russell's competition was better, or, Magic Johnson's competition was better. When you 6-0, can't say that now. You can't talk about competition. And plus, all them teams were stacked. Michael Jordan didn't have a stacked team like those guys. Yes, he had good players. He didn't have no stacked team like those guys. Those stacked teams were going against stacked teams. That's what they was going against. That's just how it was back then. Stacked teams going against stacked teams in the championship. And plus, you don't use era to compare finals opponents. You just don't do that. They're playing under different conditions, different shoes, different, everything, different rules, everything like that. As an all-time great, you're talking about your competition against your competition. The competition is a competition in that era. That's how good it is. We discount competition now of certain eras because this is what LeBron James brought you because he couldn't beat his competition. He stacked the deck, got the great players, made a super team, and he still couldn't even beat the guys in his own era. That's the problem. That's the problem. If you think, nobody wants to play with you, get some guys from the draft. Find a way, to do some swaps. And be like, yeah, you try to get that number 2 pick, get that number 1 pick, trade up. They did that with Pippen. They did the same damn thing with Pippen. Y'all thought, oh man, they got Pippen this, Pippen that. Well, how come LeBron James never did that? Nope. He went around and he demanded Cleveland get rid of this guy, and get all these other guys from other teams. So he basically got other teams number 2s on their team. What could be number 2s on other teams? That's what he did. He didn't want to get draft picks. He wanted to get guys who were already, solid players, great role players, number 2s at worst. So we just had a team full of not, okay, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Nope, he got 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That's when he didn't have a super team. When he had a super team, he had 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, all the way down the damn bench. Number 2s on it. It could be number 2s on other teams. That's how crazy it is. Yep. He learned that once he missed the playoffs his first 2 years. He was like, oh shit, I can't make these guys better. I can't demand greatness or nothing like that because I don't have those type of skills. I can't show this guy that I have these type of skills on this high level. All I can do is get the media or finance the media to say how great I am. But he was a great player. He was a good player, but he's not a leader. That's what y'all got to remember. He's not a leader. He's just a good to great player. He could be a Pippen. That's it. In the 90s. He could be a leader of a team. Leader of a team is basically like a coach. He couldn't be no leader. Couldn't be no leader. No damn way. He could just be he could just be the best player on the team. That's about it. So it's just funny to me, Michael Jordan talking about they were talking about all the money he brought into the economy, and once he retires, a lot of that stuff is going to disappear. Which it did. But he was talking about he wasn't playing the game for money. He wanted to play the game to be, as good as Dr. J or, Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain, all these type of guys. And then the money aspect came, and it didn't let it consume him. Right? It didn't let it consume him. Because actually he wanted to be better than those guys. He just didn't see, he could have let the money and the fame consume him, and he could have just been as good as these guys. Which he don't think he was better than them, but the overall look by everybody in the world is Michael Jordan is the best. If he would have let the fame and the money consume him, you would have just been like, he just one of the best. But no, the consensus is he was the best. And I'm sure he wanted to be the best. And that's where he went. He went to the damn stratosphere. And he felt like it was his obligation to play at a high level every damn game. Even if he did it, it was going to be more like, oh, had a bad game. But he was going to try to play at a high level every game. You ain't going to get that from a lot of these NBA players, man. You just ain't. Not today. They ain't got to. And I already told you, to be in that top 10 for these guys, and we'll just say the LeBron James era guys, since, LeBron James went to Miami, it's too much, man. To be in that realm with, your Michael Jordans, your Wilt Chamberlains, your Bill Russells, your Shaqs, your Kareems, your Hakeems, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, the top 10. It's too much for these guys. LeBron James ain't no top 10. You must be out of your mind. Curry ain't in no top 10. You can put whoever you want to put in the top 10. But the LeBron James era guys, they're not in the top 10. Forget about it. Nope. The fact that we always talk about how there was no pushback when this guy went to Miami, from the coaches, from the owners, from the players, what does that mean? And I kind of thought about it too with, okay, Kobe didn't say nothing, Duncan didn't say nothing, but you guys got to remember, these guys already won 4 or 5 rings. It was pretty much, they couldn't say nothing. In a way, you feel bad for, these guys like this, because Duncan and Kobe was winning all the damn rings. So it's more like a pity party to try to get these guys started. This is what these guys got to do. The Dwayne Wades, LeBron James, Chris Bosh's, this is what these guys got to do to jumpstart their careers, to start winning rings. But I'm talking about as a whole, as the NBA. These guys aren't saying nothing. These guys ain't, that's building super teams. Again, the owners, the coaches, the GMs, the players. Where's the pushback? Okay, if he wins a ring, it don't count. Oh, he's building a super team? I'm waiting till my contract is over. I'm going to play with such and such and such and such. Where's that from the rest of the players? Where's that from the owners? Well, we're going to get, on my team, we're going to get him, and him. Where's that with the owners, folks? And this wasn't just like a shrewd move where they just did it on the down low quietly. No, they announced it to the league, bragged to the league, and said, y'all can't beat us. Look what we got. Where is the pushback from the owners, the coaches, the league, folks? So you're trying to tell me that this thing was real? And it wasn't now about entertainment? And then we go to the second team, super team. By the time 2014, you should have most of the league just being super teams, based on they don't want competition now. So it was basically about LeBron James having a super team wherever he went, and everybody else had to play by fair rules. What is that? What is that? These guys ain't on their last leg and hobbled. When you had Kareem and Clyde Drexler and Barkley together, and they couldn't win spit because they was going against young guys. They was going against guys who weren't hurt, right? And they got dusted off. They got together because they was on their last leg, man. Yeah. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh didn't get together because they was on their last leg, man. Nope. They already told you they did it because they couldn't beat the West. We talked about that. After 2007, LeBron James got dusted off, humiliated, embarrassed. So he already knew he wasn't going back to the finals. If he wanted to beat Boston in 2008, all he had to do was shoot 45% for the whole series, and they would have won because they went to a game 7. He wasn't going to go. 2009, 2010, he wasn't going back to the finals because I already told you what he knew was it didn't matter who was going to be in the finals. Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, any of these fools from the West, LeBron James was going to get smoked. He was going to get smoked. So he wasn't going back there without a super team. He had to have a super team. He wasn't even going back with just Dwayne Wade. He got to get Chris Bosh too. He wasn't going to just go with Chris Bosh. Let's do this. Nope, he had to get Dwayne Wade. And then he had to go get those number 2s. Remember I told you? On super teams, he has the ones, the super team ones, and then he went and rearranged that whole Miami team and got all these 2s that could be number 2s on other teams. Wow. Wow. And he couldn't even get it done. Couldn't even get it done the first year, and only got it done 2 times. He's trying to tell you, trying to kick some knowledge to you, man. The NBA that we saw, it was professional. That's it. That's all we see. See Michael Jordan on Sports Center. You see Michael Jordan during the game. You heard about the game on Sports Center, and then you watch the game. That's it. I didn't hear about all these comparisons and dogging out past players and, this soap opera this and soap opera that. No. You was just ready to watch the damn game. Maybe you could read about it more in the newspaper, a little bit of, soap opera like that. But what you see today is just ridiculous. Well, since the LeBron James era, the 210s. The NBA was real respected back then. Dudes were wearing Muggsy Bogues jerseys. Dudes were wearing everybody's jerseys. Mutombo's jerseys, Dominique Wilkins jerseys, Tom Chambers jerseys. It was just like a fashion statement back in the day. Everybody loved the NBA. Now, you don't see nobody wearing no jerseys like that. I go everywhere. I don't see nobody wearing no jerseys like that. Unless it's like the, Curry, LeBron James, and something like that. Maybe more in those players' cities. But back then, no. You wear everybody's jerseys. David Robinson, Charles Barkley, Richard Dumas. It was just Cedric Sabalas. You can see them jerseys even if you was in like North Dakota, Indiana, North Carolina. The NBA was crazy back then, man. It was American. It was popular. We just had some great players, man. We just had great professionalism. And to me, the ESPN debate groups and debate shows kind of ruined the NBA. But that's all they had, folks. The NBA was declining. They didn't have those same guys. They didn't have them same competitors. Everybody was getting hurt. A lot of guys didn't live up to that full potential. And that was it. Maybe they should have tried to make Tim Duncan the face with Kobe Bryant. I don't know. Kobe Bryant did his thing. It was just the rest of the guys didn't come through. They either got hurt or they didn't live up to the potential. Stuff like that. That's when LeBron James came, took over. And they pretty much had to write this guy a script. Because you remember, these guys are making money pushing the game for the NBA, ESPN, ABC, Fox, or whatever like that. So they had to start lying, man. They had to start lying. First it was, the LeBron James and Kobe, and then LeBron James didn't match up to Kobe. And then, we went to the future and then, oh yeah, LeBron James and Curry. And try to make it, they were even, man. No. Curry's just better. Curry can shoot free throws, mid-range, three-pointers. He probably a better leader. He won the championships without super teams. Matt, we always talk about, oh yeah, they got hurt. That's why, they beat, LeBron James, the Warriors did, or they got Kevin Durant. Now, explain to me. So if they just do it like it's supposed to be, like Curry did it at first, he just got his guys from the draft, Draymond, Clay. Okay. Now, LeBron James, you don't build a super team and you get guys from the draft. Where we at? How many times does LeBron James beat Curry? Right? LeBron James barely beat Tim Duncan, who did it from the draft. So if LeBron James basically had to do it like a lot of teams and get players from the draft or play with this one great player, he don't win no championships. Yes, he could win MVPs, no doubt about it. But when we go into the playoffs and we're talking about high-level basketball, he ain't winning nothing. Because his game ain't built on leading a team. His game is built on getting stats to make him look like a great player. Getting stats. That's not going to work in the playoffs. It don't work like that. So if he just had to lead some dudes from the draft and make them better, it don't matter if it was a high draft pick, whatever. A great guy in college, that's fine. Could he do it? Could he win championships? How many could he win? Right? How come he won in that same situation where, Kevin Durant was, where he got Russell Westbrook, he got Harden, bam, let's go. These guys had to start from the draft. LeBron James never started from the draft. Most all-time great players, they played with guys coming from the draft. I'm just saying. Just saying. And never won nothing without playing with other leaders of another team. So you can get that entire interview, but how Michael Jordan talks is nothing how LeBron James talks. How Michael Jordan carried himself in public. I'm not trying to say how Michael Jordan acted behind closed doors. We act different than how we act at work. Most of us. I would say most of us, right? Because you're in a professional setting. So we act different at work than we do at home. Michael Jordan was at work. So I'm not trying to say Michael Jordan is perfect and he ain't got no flaws and he acts that way off camera. I'm not trying to say that. But in the public eye, this is nothing like LeBron James, man. Michael Jordan said he had an obligation to show people every game he was the best. Whether he was winning championships, he was the best in the championship game. Or he was just playing a regular season game, he was best in the regular season, every game. This isn't LeBron James. LeBron James ain't about to play 82 games on a blown out knee getting drained every game because he feels obligated to the consumers who bought tickets to come see him. He ain't gonna do that. He ain't gonna do that. He's gonna shut it down for the rest of the season. This dude is just an entertainment act that's pushed by the media, and the media can say anything. We in a whole different world full of lies and deceit and all this stuff. This is what I was talking about on social media earlier. I said, man, should I get off this thing? Because I was on this lady's channel and she shows you how like 95% of all video content on social media, period, is not real. It's all AI deepfake. You download the software. All it needs is a picture of you, picture of a scene, picture of anything, whatever. It might not even need a picture. All it needs is you to type in what you want it to do. So if you do workout videos, it shows you working out. Your muscles are big every time. You know, different times you had different videos. You know, you say, okay, I've seen that. I don't know, a lot of people have seen this. You got those beach scenes in Brazil or whatever like that. Type in that. The AI will create that. And you think people are really at these beaches taking videos. You should have known anyways because ain't nobody looking. Ain't nobody looking at somebody just following them and all up in their face with a camera. It's all fake. This is all AI. All these podcasts, Joe Rogan's, LeBron James, you know, Kevin, all these are deep fake podcasts. Not even real. Stephen A. Smith, AI deep fake podcast. Everything, 95% of what you see. News, everything. You know, people dancing, doing all these dances. Remember the people used to think this was real? You see old people at these parties dancing, doing all this crazy stuff. AI deep fake. So 95% of this stuff, I posted on my community page. She tells you right there. She even sells the software or tells you where to go get it from. Yep. And how these people is making $1 million a year, 100,000, 200,000, just on AI deepfake podcasts. I seen one where the whole damn McDonald's, the manager was bent over. She was supposed to be having a drug episode. She was slobbering from her mouth. You had people walking in from the lobby, cooking fries, and somebody was making itself hamburgers in McDonald's and all this stuff. It was just a crazy scene. And people actually thought it was real. And dude, you can, you know, pay for bots to come in the comments and just say a whole bunch of stuff. Just to get you, you know, to get that video around faster. These ain't even real people. This is how crazy social media is now, man. That's what I was wondering. At first, I was like, how these guys got all these Michael Jordan videos? AI deepfakes. I ain't saying all of them are fake, but a lot of them are fake. Where they got these videos where they're playing like, you know, scrimmages against this player, against this team, or, you know, just doing all this, or Michael Jordan talking in interviews. You gotta remember, some of these are fake and some of these are real. But people will take that real interview and say, make a Michael Jordan interview talking about this, talking about that. That's what they will do. Yep. So I'm not trying to say it's all fake, but 95% of the stuff out here that you, even the people who are real, all AI needs is a face now, and boom, the AI will make you working out, dancing, you know, selling something, talking about this, doing this. Yeah. So it's a crazy world out here, man. What I'm saying, we don't live in the same world back when Michael Jordan was playing. The 80s, the 70s, the 60s. This world is just about social media. It ain't about nothing real. You can lie, you can do all this, and that's what I was trying to tell you the other day. I said, you know, all this on the past NBA because nobody's watching this NBA. Nobody's watching this NBA. So they have to find a way to convince you that the NBA in the past was trash. Even though everybody was watching it. Everybody was buying the merch. Everybody was celebrating it. Nobody's celebrating this era. Nobody's watching it. So they have to find a way to tear down the past eras to make it look like this shit ain't that bad. Well, who cares about comparing, period? If nobody's watching this trash, that means your own people in this era don't even like it. Americans don't like it. We don't like it. Most of the people who even talk about eras in the past from this era, they're just trying to make money. They know this era of basketball ain't about nothing. They just trying to make money on social media. That's it. They know the truth, but the truth ain't gonna make no money these days. It's all a lie. That's where the money is now, and it's bad because this world is coming to a head with this social media sooner or later. So you guys tell me what you think. Yeah, we miss those days, man. And Michael Jordan wasn't the only guy like this. Like I said, I would say the guys in the 2000s, they spoke like this, and the Grant Hills, the Kobe Bryants, the Tim Duncans, even Shaq spoke with a little bit of sense back then. The Karl Malones, John Stocktons, all the guys in the previous past, they spoke professional. Because we looked at these guys, they were the highest of the high. These were NBA players. We looked up to them. They were upholding the standard of the game, and people want to be like them. They played positional basketball. They had positional skills. They got screamed at by coaches. You had coaches. These ain't even coaches today. You can't even scream at a player. Back in the day, you did something wrong, you came off the court, the coach would be screaming at you. They didn't care. That's how the coach cared about winning. That's how he was coaching. Damn coach screaming at no player today because they're not really coaching. They're just like stand-in coaches to make it seem like the NBA is real now, right? I don't even know why they even got referees, really. They don't even call carry, travel, or whatever like that. I don't even know why they got referees. Your guess is good as mine. Hell, they should just go to like some AI referees. AI referees would do better. They would be exposing these dudes. That's what would be so crazy. They'd be exposing this era. So let me get off here.